Deep in the heart of the rugged Himalayas, a silent predator rules over the snow-capped peaks where few others dare to tread. Known as the ghosts of the mountains, the snow leopard is one of the most elusive and mysterious big cats on Earth. Observe as it gradually moves across the rocky terrain. Its camouflage a masterpiece of evolution designed for the high-altitude wilderness. Look into these intense, pale green eyes. They are built to spot movement miles away in the thin, crisp air of the alpine zone. To survive in these sub-zero temperatures, the snow leopard possesses the ultimate winter wardrobe, starting with its incredibly dense, smoky gray fur. Each iconic black rosette is a unique fingerprint, helping this master of disguise vanish in an instant against the mountain backdrop. Look closely at these massive, fur-covered paws. They act as natural snowshoes, distributing weight evenly across the deep, soft powder. Even its tail is a multi-purpose tool, reaching nearly the length of its body. The tail provides vital balance on precarious ledges. When the temperature drops, the leopard wraps this bushy tail around itself like a thick, warm scarf to protect against the biting wind. In this vertical world, agility is survival. A snow leopard can leap across rocky chasms over 15 meters wide in a single bound, powered by exceptionally long hind limbs. These school bus-length jumps allow them to navigate the most treacherous terrain with incredible ease. Unlike other big cats, snow leopards are solitary sentinels, roaming vast territories that cover hundreds of square miles of frozen wilderness. They communicate through scent markings and by rubbing their faces against prominent boulders, leaving messages for other leopards to find. Life at 15,000 feet means thin air. Their unique nasal structure warms the freezing air before it ever reaches their lungs. The hunt is a test of patience. Here, a leopard stalks a blue sheep across a nearly vertical 80-degree slope. Every movement is calculated. The leopard uses the natural contours of the mountain to stay hidden from the keen eyes of the barrel. From a vantage point high above its kingdom, it watches and waits for the perfect moment to strike with lightning speed. But despite their prowess, life is fragile. We are only just beginning to understand the secret family lives of these magnificent cats. In this hidden den, two playful cubs learn the skills they need to survive in one of the harshest environments on Earth. As the sun sets over the peaks, the ghost prepares to vanish once more into the shifting shadows of the majestic mountains. Protecting these creatures means preserving the fragile alpine ecosystems that support life across the entire Asian continent. Join us in conservation.
All right, we're heading up, way up to the highest peaks on Earth. We're on the hunt for a creature that's so rarely seen, it's basically become a legend. So today, let's pull back the curtain on the magnificent and mysterious snow leopard. The ghost of the mountains. I mean, that name just says it all, doesn't it? For centuries, folks living way up in the high mountains of Asia have told stories about this almost mythical cat. A silent, gray shadow that just vanishes into the rock and snow. So you have to ask, right? What makes this incredible cat so hard to find? Is it magic? Well, no, not quite. It's actually something even more amazing, a masterful blend of adaptation. We're going to piece this puzzle together, looking at its home, its habits, and its biology to figure out exactly how it earned that legendary name. Okay, first things first. If you want to find a ghost, you've got to know its haunting grounds. So let's start by mapping out the snow leopard's domain. And trust me, it's an empire of rock and ice, literally at the top of the world. And we're not talking about just one mountain range here. Oh no. This is a massive, rugged empire stretching across the great peaks of Central Asia. You've got the Himalayas, the Karakoram. These are some of the toughest, most remote places on the entire planet. And this is where the snow leopard is king. And get this, the altitude. We're talking 5,500 meters. That's over 18,000 feet. Think about that. The air is thin, the cold is just brutal. It's an environment that pushes life to its absolute breaking point. But the snow leopard, it doesn't just put up with it, it thrives there. They're also incredibly smart survivors. They don't just sit in one spot. When winter gets really nasty and their food, wild sheep and goats, starts heading down the mountains, the snow leopards are right behind them. They're always moving, always adapting to the rhythm of the seasons. So where they live is a huge piece of the puzzle, but it's not the whole story. A big part of their mystique is coded right into how they live. It's basically a masterclass in the art of just not being seen. Think about lions, right? They've got their prides. Snow leopards? The complete opposite. They are true loners. They roam this massive, rugged world pretty much entirely on their own. And that solitary life is a huge reason why bumping into one is so unbelievably rare. And check out how much space they need. A single leopard's territory can be over 40 square kilometers. That's huge. It means they're spread super thin across these massive mountains, which, you guessed it, makes them even harder to spot. On top of all that, there's their schedule. They're what's called crepuscular. It's a great word, right? All it means is that they're most active during twilight, so dawn and dusk. They do their hunting in the shadows and then just melt back into the landscape as the sun comes up or goes down. Okay, so we've got their location and their behavior down, but now we get to the really cool part. Their bodies. They are physically built for this. It's like they have this incredible built-in toolkit that makes them the ultimate high-altitude survivor. And it really all starts with that unbelievable tail. Seriously, it's like a Swiss Army knife. When they're leaping across these crazy dangerous cliffs, that long, thick tail works like a rudder, giving them perfect balance. But then, when it's time to nap, they wrap it around themselves like a built-in scarf to stay warm against that biting cold. How cool is that? All right, let's look down at their feet. Their paws. They're basically wearing custom-built snowshoes 24/7. Their paws are huge and padded, which spreads out their weight so they can walk right on top of deep snow instead of sinking in. And those same pads, they give them an amazing grip on slippery, rocky cliffs. It's just perfect natural engineering. And now for the main event. Of course, we have to talk about that legendary coat. It is the ultimate invisibility cloak. First off, the fur is super dense, which is absolutely critical for staying warm in those sub-zero temps. But the real magic is the pattern. Those beautiful spots are called rosettes, and they are the reason this cap is a ghost. They break up its outline so perfectly that it just disappears into the rocky background. I mean, a snow leopard could be 10 feet away from you, and you'd probably never even see it. Okay, but I've got one last secret for you, and this one is pretty surprising. It really adds to the whole mystique. For all their power and size, there is one classic big cat thing that snow leopards can't do. They can't roar. Yeah, really. The way their throat is built is just different from a lion or a tiger. So instead of that earth-shaking roar you can hear for miles, their way of talking is way more subtle. They make these sounds like chuffs and hisses and growls. Kind of makes them the strong, silent type of the big cat family. So there you have it. When you put all the pieces together, the mystery starts to make sense, right? You've got their super remote, high-altitude home, their solo, twilight hour lifestyle, and a body that is perfectly adapted for it all. All of that combines to create the one and only legendary ghost of the mountains. So every single thing about them, every secret, every adaptation, it's all designed for one thing: survival in one of the harshest places on Earth. But in our rapidly changing world, it leaves you with a really big question. Are all of these incredible hard-won skills going to be enough to keep the ghost of the mountains safe for the future? Okay, for this explainer, we're heading way up into the remote mountains of Central and South Asia. Why? Because we're going to break down the hunting strategy of the snow leopard. And you're about to see what makes this incredible animal the undisputed master of the alpine hunt. Elite, precise, and built for the extreme. You know, these aren't just cool-sounding words. For the snow leopard, this is basically a mission statement. We're talking about a hunter that is perfectly, and I mean perfectly, engineered for one of the most brutal environments on the entire planet. And a huge part of that engineering is where it gets its nickname, the ghost of the mountains. This isn't just a poetic name. This animal moves with a kind of stealth that is just mind-blowing. But it's not magic, right? It's pure biology and technique, honed to perfection over thousands of years.
This quote really nails it. Every single thing about the snow leopard, from its smoky, broken pattern camouflage that blends right into the rocks, to its massively powerful legs, it's all a direct evolutionary answer to the question, how do you survive and hunt up here? In this world, you just can't leave anything to chance.
So how do they actually pull it off? I mean, how do you hunt in a place where there's barely any cover and the air is incredibly thin? Well, it pretty much boils down to a super consistent 4-part strategy. You can think of it as their hunting playbook.
So here it is. It always starts with a patient, calculated stalk. That's followed by a sudden, explosive ambush. Now, if the prey somehow gets away, that triggers a breathtakingly high-speed chase. And it all leads to one final moment, the efficient kill. So let's break down that very first stage.
Everything, and I mean everything, begins with patience. The stalk is a total game of nerves, and it requires a complete mastery of the terrain. Honestly, this is the phase where the hunt is often won or lost, long before the real action even starts.
Just try to picture this. These slow, deliberate, creeping movements. Every single paw is placed with absolute surgical precision. They use the landscape itself, every rock, every shadow, every ridge, as their personal invisibility cloak. The entire goal is to shrink that distance without making a single sound or being seen for even a split second.
And then, bam, the silence is shattered. After what could be minutes or maybe even hours of that slow, tense stalk, the snow leopard commits. And it's this sudden shift from absolute stillness to pure explosive action that makes this phase so incredibly effective.
A key part of their strategy? Using gravity and surprise. By getting themselves into a position above their prey, they can launch this devastating downhill assault. They use those powerful hind legs to propel themselves forward, just like a coiled spring that's been suddenly released.
14 meters. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is nearly 46 feet. In one single jump, a snow leopard can cover the length of a city bus. This unbelievable range means they can close that final gap on their target in literally the blink of an eye.
But okay, what happens if the prey is fast enough to react? What if the ambush isn't absolutely perfect? Well, that's when the hunt kicks into its most dangerous phase, a flat-out, high-speed chase across these treacherous rocky slopes, where just one tiny misstep could be fatal for either animal.
So how on earth do they manage that? Well, here's their secret weapon. That incredible, thick tail. It's not just for keeping warm. It's a dynamic counterweight. It's a rudder that they use to adjust their balance in mid-air, letting them make these impossibly sharp, hairpin turns at full throttle. It is the key to their agility. So whether the hunt ends with that first explosive leap or after a frantic chase, the final move is always ruthlessly efficient. There is zero wasted energy. It's a quick, precise bite to the throat or muzzle. It's a signature move, a hallmark of big cats everywhere. The final, perfect move to a perfectly executed plan.
So after all that, the stalking, the waiting, the explosive chase, what's the reward? You have to remember, in this environment, every single calorie is precious. So the payoff has to be worth all the risk and all that energy they just spent. Their menu is pretty varied, but they for sure have a favorite, the blue sheep, also known as baral. These guys are pretty big and provide a really substantial meal. But, snow leopards are also opportunists. They'll hunt pretty much anything, from big ibex all the way down to smaller marmots and hares if they have to.
And this right here is why that efficiency is so critical. A single successful hunt of a big animal, like a blue sheep, can actually feed a snow leopard for several days.
They'll stay with their kill, guarding it from scavengers, making sure they get every last bit of energy from their hard work.
So when you put it all together, the camouflage and stealth, the raw power, the incredible agility, and that lethal precision, you don't just have a predator. You have a true master of its domain. An animal so perfectly tuned to its environment that it almost feels supernatural.
But that brings up a really critical question. This perfect hunter exists because it evolved in a stable, even if it's harsh, world. Its entire existence is tied to this specific ecosystem. So what happens when that world starts to change? That's definitely something to think about.
Way up high in the remote, rugged mountains of Asia, there lives a creature that's almost mythical. It's elusive, it's powerful, and it's perfectly built for one of the toughest environments on our planet. Today, we're going to dive into the world of the silent guardian, the snow leopard. So what does that even mean, a guardian of the peaks? Well, to really get this animal, you've got to understand its home. We're talking about a world of rock and ice, way, way above the clouds. Okay, get this. A snow leopard has been spotted at an altitude of over 5,800 meters. That's more than 19,000 feet. I mean, just try to picture that. To put it in perspective for you, that is higher than the base camp of Mount Everest. They are quite literally living on the roof of the world. For centuries, people have called them the ghost of the mountain. And it makes sense, right? Because you so rarely see them. But here's the thing. Being a legend, being a ghost, that's not enough to protect them from a crisis that is all too real. The official scientific body that tracks all this, the IUCN, has classified the snow leopard as vulnerable. Now, that might not sound super dramatic, but believe me, it is. It's basically a formal warning, a giant red flag that says this species is facing a high risk of just disappearing from the wild forever. And this number, wow, this really hits home. The best estimates put the entire global population somewhere between 4,000 and 6,500. That's it. For an animal whose territory spans across 12 different countries, that number is just shockingly, terrifyingly small. So the big question is why? Why is this happening? And the answer isn't simple. It's not just one thing. It's more like this complex web of human-driven pressures that are all closing in on their mountain sanctuary. These threats really paint a grim picture. You've got poaching for their incredible fur and bones. That's a constant danger. Then there's what's called retaliatory killing, where farmers will kill them after they attack livestock. And climate change? That's a sneakier threat. It's warming their world, shrinking the fragile habitats they need to survive. And finally, when their natural prey disappears, it forces them right into that conflict with humans in the first place. So, here's where it all comes to a head. The core of the conflict is actually pretty simple to understand. Snow leopards are supposed to hunt wild animals, things like ibex and blue sheep. That's their natural menu. But as human settlements expand and their natural prey starts to vanish, what's a leopard going to do? They get hungry. They start looking at livestock. And that, right there, is when they run straight into direct and often fatal conflict with farmers. But, and this is a really big but, the story doesn't end there. Not by a long shot. Faced with this crisis, a powerful global alliance has formed. We're talking governments, NGOs, scientists from all over the world, all working together to pull the snow leopard back from the brink. And this is a serious multi-layered effort. We have specialized groups like the Snow Leopard Trust leading the charge on research and community programs. You have global powerhouses like the WWF running anti-poaching campaigns right there on the ground. At the government level, the GSLEP program is incredible. It actually unites all 12 of the snow leopard's home countries to work together.
And all of it is backed up by CITES, a critical international treaty that bans all commercial trade of endangered species.
So all that global effort is absolutely essential, right? But the real fight for survival, that happens on the ground, day in and day out. To see how these big ideas actually get put into practice, we're going to zoom in and look at a powerful case study from the mountains of northern Pakistan. Okay, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a farmer in a remote village for a second. Losing a goat or a sheep to a snow leopard, that's not just an inconvenience. For them, it can be an economic disaster. So the old response, which is pretty understandable, was retaliation. You hunt and kill the leopard to stop it from happening again. But now, a whole new model is emerging. Instead of conflict, the new approach is all about partnership. And it recognizes a really simple but powerful truth. For conservation to work, it has to work for the local people who share the land with these incredible animals. And this is a brilliant example of a practical solution. It's 3 steps. First, you monitor. You use things like camera traps to track the leopard populations and understand their movements. Second, you compensate. This part's huge. You set up livestock insurance programs to support the farmers, which takes away the whole motive for retaliatory killings. And third, you empower. You train local people to become rangers, the new guardians of their own wildlife. This brings us to what might be the most powerful idea in this whole story. What if protecting a snow leopard wasn't a cost, but an investment? What if the ghosts of the mountain could actually generate a new kind of wealth for the people who live alongside it? This is the core concept of ecotourism. It's a model where the unique wildlife and the pristine environment of a place become its greatest economic asset. It's about creating sustainable jobs for guides, lodge owners, and conservation rangers. And the best part? It's working. In places like northern Pakistan, a small but growing tourism industry is forming. People travel from all over the world and pay for the chance to just glimpse this elusive cat. That money flows directly into the local economy, and all of a sudden there's a powerful financial incentive to protect the very animal that was once seen as a threat. This quote, this really captures the heart of modern conservation. It's no longer a choice between people and animals. The new understanding is that their fates are intertwined. A healthy ecosystem with thriving wildlife supports a healthy and prosperous human community. It's a win-win. So we end with this question. The old way valued the snow leopard for its pelt. The new way values it for its existence. And the success of these conservation efforts in the high Himalayas suggests the answer is a resounding yes, offering a blueprint for how we can protect our planet's most iconic species by proving their greatest value is in being alive.